tell us whatever you can speak about Ayurveda. I'm an ignorant person on these things. So,
No, Ayurveda is individual's medicine. Ayurveda treat every individual separately. In modern medicine, they do statistical observation, what is common in 100 people. Based upon that normality, they try to judge the individual. But Ayurveda has a unique approach in the sense, pinde pinde matiri bhinnaha, or pinde pinde prakrutiri bhinnaha. So Ayurvedic approach is more prakriti vikruti paradigm. So Ayurveda says that to understand the individual and then treat accordingly based upon his prakriti, vikruti, environment, lifestyle, all these have great significant value. And people are doing integration of Ayurveda and acupuncture, Ayurveda and chiropractic, Ayurveda and naturopath, and Ayurveda and allopath. Because Ayurveda is all inclusive. Ayurveda is not only Hindu medicine, it is for every religion, it is beyond religion.
You know, the word Ayurveda is itself a compound word. It's made up of two words called Ayus and Veda. And normally we translate Ayurveda as science of life or knowledge of life. But if you want to give it a more modern kind of terminology, Ayurveda really translates as life science. Now, it's interesting to note what these two words, two small words, Ayur and Veda, inform us about what Ayurveda deals with. You know, the word Ayus means, in Sanskrit, it's coming from a root inagadau, means that which goes. That life is constantly adapting to survive. And this survival happens at three levels. You know, at the cellular level, every cell, every moment, the biological units of life called as cell, which was called in Ayurveda as Jiva Paramanu. At the cellular level, we see this instinct for survival. And then at the organism level, there is biological reproduction. And then, you know, at a spiritual level, there is transmigration or movement from one life to the other. And in the process, that prolongation is by self-reconstruction. Because you are dying moment by moment and reconstructing yourself. This is the process of life. Every day, every moment, you know, every year, we are born again and again. And that rebirth is the gati, the third meaning of the word ayus. And this happens at the cellular level. Whenever we eat food, we are being born again with the elements of nature. So that is why eating food was considered as a big yajna in our tradition. In Ayurveda especially, it is a yajna which we perform every day to regenerate ourselves. The second thing is the organismic rebirth. And the third thing is that life continues from one birth to the other. So this is what Ayus is. And Ayurveda is the knowledge which gives us a deep insight into the life process. So quality of life, productivity of life, living life to its fullness, that is the focus of Ayurveda. And not just treating and healing a few diseases.
You know, my journey with Ayurveda was definitely not a journey that set out to understand Ayurveda, much less to practice Ayurveda or create a career in Ayurveda. I set out with more kind of spiritual intentions, and I was very much enamored of and intrigued by the Vedas and by yoga and monastic lifestyle. And so that's what first took me to India and kind of brought me into the fold of all of these traditions of Vedic wisdom. And it was along that journey, of, you know, of yoga really, and of tapasya, of doing spiritual practices and giving the majority of my time and life and energy to spiritual practices, that first I kind of came into some obstacles, some physical obstacles with the body, with the instrument of these practices. And also I think one of the things that we come to in spiritual life is this great confrontation with death, right? It was written in the temple of Eleusis in Greece, die before you die. And that's very much an injunction for any spiritual path. And then realizing, how much of a responsibility life is before that death comes. And that, death is coming for us all. But how do we take care of this moment? And how do we take care of these bodies, which are our vehicles for experiencing and for coming to that great precipice? One of the fundamental tenets that Ayurveda accepts and posits its entire medical system on is this tenet of Swabhava Uparama or Swabhava Uparama, which is a kind of radical notion. Most of us take life for granted. And Ayurveda says that actually the Uparama, the dissolution of things, the state of death or non-incarnation, of non-life, that is the natural state. That is the inherent state. This is the baseline. And that ayus, life, is actually a almost inexplicable exception to that. And that there is no cause for the dissolution of things. There is no cause for nothingness. But there must always be a cause for somethingness. There must always be a cause for things to hold together. And the most intimate cause, what we could say is the samavayi karana of life, of ayus, is ojas. And ojas in Ayurveda, it is this almost inexplicable union of tejas, of the fire element, and of apas or soma and the watery elements that have somehow miraculously come together. And it's that most unprecedented union that holds everything together, that holds life together, that makes ayuv, that makes life itself what we call a sambandhi, a continuous thing. So this talk that we'll give on ojas is kind of understanding ojas not just as this kind of ultimate end product of dhatu poshanam, the nourishment of dhatus, but as the really root of life itself and the greatest kind of example we have to this miracle that stands in opposition to nothingness and in opposition to what we could say is even universal nature.
My journey really started with just having health issues of my own and turning to doctors, typical kind of allopathic MD doctors, and not really finding the support that I needed. They were doing their best, but the situations that I had going on were kind of more chronic, long-standing things, and I wasn't finding support in allopathic medicine for those situations. So that began my journey of, well, I have to learn how to heal myself, basically. That's all I have. So it was kind of a long journey and eventually led me to study yogasana and, some of the deeper aspects of yoga. And that eventually led me to finding Ayurveda. For me, dinacharya, which means daily routine, is it's the foundation. I like to look at it like a pyramid, and it's that foundational level of what allows me to go through life and feel grounded in the face of all the kind of challenges that come up. It's a living, breathing process. So it's something that changes daily. It's something that changes seasonally because we're always looking at the seasons. It's something that can change, depending on the climate and the situation that you're living in. So it's a living practice. Yes, it's looking at, what kind of dinacharya would be appropriate for this person's life and what can they, commit to in terms of like what's doable for them, given their work schedule, their family schedule, and other things that might be going on in their life. And then we work together to build a dinacharya that works for them. Because again, it has to work for each person or else it's not helpful, right? The dinacharya supports the person doesn't support the dinacharya.
So all those principles which our sages has taught us, those are still relevant because right now, in spite of having the technology and all, health issues are more cropping up. If you see the statistically, the pharmaceutical industry and the pharmaceutical compounds consumption has gone 10 times more than what it used to be 5 years back. So this is just 5 years statistical data. So when we apply all the principles of Ayurveda that chew your food nicely, the purpose is when you chew your food, rather than having the smoothies or shakes, the saliva mix with the food. And the saliva contains the digestive enzymes, which helps in breaking down the complex carbs and all. And here you are doing the protein shakes or the smoothies, and then people come up with why my joints are hurting, why my digestion is going bad. So those principles, simple principles, waking up, you will see the tremendous amount of energy in your body. And if you want to do a conscious effort of having the meditation or the yoga, the morning time is the best time. And those principles are still relevant to keep the stressors away, as well as to acquire the health and wellness which we all strive for.
And since Ayurveda is a consciousness-based approach to healing, it takes into account that our physical body is just a constantly changing activity in which we can influence that activity. So in this moment, if I make a choice, there are really only two things that can happen from that choice. It can create balance and create health, or it can move me away from balance and potentially cause disease. And I knew about Ayurveda from my parents who come from India, but I really didn't understand it as this sophisticated, holistic, really original lifestyle medicine where we as people can take health into our own hands and really make the best choices for us. There are three main mind-body types or doshas, and it explains our natural tendencies, not just in our physical build, in our digestive tract, and all of the different influences that will impact our body and how it will impact our body, but also our emotional state and how we manage stress and some aspects of our mind and how we think about things. And to me, learning about Ayurveda and my body type or my dosha really explained so many things that I could never explain before. And I hear this from patients all the time when I teach them about doshas and I teach in large settings. People say it just transformed their life to be able to understand themselves and to know in each moment with each choice what's best for you. So you don't have to outsource your health to other people. You can actually feel empowered to make the best choices for yourself. And to me, that's one of the most amazing things about Ayurveda is this personalized approach to health and helping people make the best choices for themselves.